On June 11th, in the wee hours of the morning, the full moon reaches its fullestness. It's Pride Month, and as we do every month, on the full moon, we celebrate Via Positiva. We celebrate the Via Transformativa, which is the path of transformation, change, and celebration. This Pride Month feels like we need pride more than ever, and we need to return pride back to what it was always meant to be, a celebration and a protest. Let's talk about how we can bring in the fresh, renewing waters of pride as we walk together down creation's. Hello, everyone. My name is Charlie, and I am a Christopagan druid and priest of Bridget.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian. I'm a Christopagan druid and shush up to the dog.
I really wanted, when I said Waters of Pride, to add to that one out of the free bucket, not one of the $8 bottles sitting around. But then I started thinking, I bet they're like 12 to 15 now, maybe even 20 because prices and everything. Then I decided against the joke and thought I would tell the joke now in a way that makes it purely not funny.
Then in that spirit, it's Zenith.
Today we're going to be talking about pride and our need for pride and how I wrote up a ritual that is over on CreationsPaths.com for you to do. One of my favorite practices is making moon water for pride that will hopefully help inspire us to get the work done that we need to get done. But before we get into all that, if you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, whatever the terminology happens to be on whatever app you listen to us on. We do 5 original Christopagan and Druid episodes Monday through Friday. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up. All right, let's get into it now, shall we?
As David loved Jonathan, we love from our soul, our heart, our being. As Isaac sought his soul, we seek the truth within us. As Simeon Bacchus rejoiced in the spirit, we rejoice in the powers of life. Blessed be the children of the sun, the moon, and the earth. Blessed be those who find their family in love and living. Blessed are those persecuted for the sake of love, love of self, love of others, and love of truth, who know in their heart and in their bones who they are, who they love, and how they live. They shall sing with the voice of truth, drowning out the lies of the one allied against love, truth, and healing.
That is the opening prayer for the rituals I was mentioning before. For those of you new to a moon water practice, I'm going to say things that are going to upset everybody in some way, shape, or form right now. Whether you believe there is a mystical energy that suffuses the universe that we can imbue into water under certain circumstances, or whether this is just a ritual that is going to help you psychologically process the work that we are doing, I don't want to see any of those arguments in the chat. I don't want any of that in the comments, none of that, because it doesn't matter. Right now, what we need is the ability to focus and concentrate on the work that needs to be done. Our work as Christopagans is always working towards justice, compassion, and to bring the love of God into the world in a more full and complete way. That happens to coincide with the work of pride.
Yeah, you can tell it by its fruits. If it's doing something good, it's good.
That is the model that Jesus gave us for determining whether or not something is good. You know, if it's leaving behind and trauma and harmful ideation, you're not doing the work of God. Jesus gave us the model. I'm just applying it. It's upsetting to see folk who claim to be speaking on behalf of Jesus, all of the so-called reparative therapies and repression of who you are on a basic fundamental level is not healthy for the soul. It is not healthy for the spirit, and it is not healthy for the individual. So this is the work we are about. Now, moon water is either mystically imbued with the powers we're putting into it, or is a focus to help keep us on track and moving towards the goals we want. When we construct a ritual for making a moon water, you leave water out in a clear vessel of your choosing. We have a skull jar that we usually use to make our moon water in, that we fill with water and we leave outside for the night. I do recommend, if you're going to be drinking it, make sure that it is a clean vessel, that you have cleaned it out thoroughly before you use it. and that it has some kind of a stopper or lid so that dust and ants and flying bug pop and everything else doesn't get into it.
I was just thinking about the moon water. Apparently, it was so potent, the ants figured out how to get in through the cork and just piled into it. The bottom literally filled up with dead ants because they wanted it so badly, I guess. They just crawled into this bottle and drowned. And this thing had a solid cork on it. I am still mystified
How they got in.
how they got in. I was fairly confident in how potent that moon water came out. Thousands and thousands of ants fought their way.
The cork was not damaged.
The cork was not.
They didn't chew their way through the cork. We have no idea how they got in.
It's a little miracle in and of itself. Corks are good. I guess also the lesson there is, remember not to have attachments. These things come and go, and like every season, the full moon will happen again.
You can do this pride ritual any month of the year.
Yeah.
I think it would also work equally well as a memorial ritual for a new moon.
Yeah.
And that's one of the debates we've been having, is whether there's going to be a separate practice for the new moon, or if we're just going to do this again as a memorial on the new moon. If you have any thoughts about that, you can add them to the comments.
Jump in the comments, let us know.
But moon water, if you're going to drink it, the other thing is, if you're using a crystal container, make sure that it's not a leaded crystal, that it is a crystal that you can drink from, because crystals can break off little bits and cause issues. Do know what is and is not food safe. Do the homework. Do not use anything harmful. You do want it to be transparent. You want the light to shine into it. You also want to see the water during the ritual, so don't use a wooden or a clay vessel for this. Now, I know the community is divided on whether or not to use colored glass. A lot of antique glass has toxic colors that you don't want to drink from. But if a color means something to you, like a beautiful rainbow glass, use it. Correspondences are very personal for the most part. Use basic safety common sense when you're doing it. We live in an industrial area, so lids are extremely important because we don't want any of the soot that rains down getting into this water, because it is often something that we can consume. Now, you can use this water for ablutions. You can wash yourself with it. You can wash your hands with it, your face. We often use it to make teas. You can use it to bless items. You can use it to bless people, bless your home. The point is, we are dedicating it and charging it for use through this pride ritual that we're going to be doing.
And I guess as a little side note, because I love dropping these practical tips, if in a space or a place in your life where you don't have some of these things around, all you need to do is run out to your local store, grocery store, wherever, and get a bottled water.
Yeah.
Take the label off. They're food safe water bottles. On some of the past full moon rituals, we just bought a nice gallon bottle of spring water. We took the label off and put it out and did the ritual for that, because it was convenient, already packaged and sealed and ready to go.
And that's the thing. You can make this as special as you want it to be. If there is a local spring that you can get clean water from, observe all local laws about that. Feel free to do that. Now, what we're going to be doing over this is invoking names. If you paid attention in the prayer that Brian read at the beginning of this, we already invoked 3. We invoked 4, actually, David and Jonathan. David and Jonathan, of course, had a great love affair in the scriptures. They would sneak out in the middle of the night and kiss each other on the mouth, which I know people want to say is up for debate. Also, when Jonathan died, David expressly said, in front of Jonathan's sister, David's wife, "Oh, Jonathan, who I loved more than any woman," which had to make his sister feel something.
I feel like at that point, she already knew where she was in the relationship. They've been married for a while.
David is the disaster bisexual of the Hebrew scriptures, though he would not have seen himself as that, because that word did not appear back then. After that, we invoked the patriarch Isaac, who you probably know from the story of being taken up onto the mountain by his father Abraham to be sacrificed. There is a story in the Talmud that explains why his mother laughed when she heard the angel say that she was going to have a son. She knew she was carrying a daughter. In this retelling of the story, Isaac is actually born with a female spirit, and that's actually what is sacrificed up on the mountain. Then he spends his life hunting for her, finds her incarnation, and marries her, which is a story that means a lot to me. And Simeon Bacchus, who is a name you probably don't know, is the traditional name for the Ethiopian eunuch in the book of Acts, a member of a gender minority. We could do an entire episode about Simeon. There is an interesting tradition that goes along with them. It's a whole rabbit hole. In the actual prayer itself, we are going to invoke many folk from the history of Pride. These are names that hopefully everybody knows because they have done so much for us. The first two are the ones that I think about most when I think about Pride, and that's Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera. They were transgender activists that were there from the beginning. They were at Stonewall. They were very much a part of the early organization work. When I think of how Sylvia was thrown aside and how no one in power looked for Marsha's murderer, I am still outraged and angered to this day. They were very important to the initial movement after Stonewall. Other names that are of importance are Brenda Howard, who fought for bisexual and pansexual liberation and who is often called the mother of Pride. She was a very strong organizer and helped bring us the celebrations we have today. If you don't know the story of any of these people, please look them up. Bayard Rustin was a proud, openly gay man who worked with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was a man who organized the March on Washington. Dr. King was told not to have Bayard anywhere near him because if it were known that he associated with an out gay man, it would hurt the cause. Dr. King had Bayard stand right behind him. If you watch any of the films of the speech he gave on the mall that day, you will see Bayard Rustin right at his side, right over his shoulder. That is a powerful act of solidarity.
Yeah. And that was something I also appreciated that they left in, was it MLK, one of the newer retellings of the story around Martin Luther, where they put the tension in, making sure that people could see that. And with a wrestling with that decision, they left all that in there. And that whole struggle, because he was really important and crucial
organizing the civil rights movement.
He did so much behind the scenes. It was definitely a team effort. And one of those crucial moments where often in gay history, the gay person gets thrown to the wayside when everything becomes a little too inconvenient. It was one of those moments where they stood up, recognizing that the struggle is a bigger one than any one oppressed group of individuals.
Speaking of which, James Baldwin is listed in the litany, one of my favorite thinkers of this time period. His books are transformational. His speeches and talks and interviews are some of the most powerful things I've ever seen. He ended up moving to France because living in the United States as an openly gay Black man was too much.
Yeah.
A very powerful voice and someone that if you do not know, you should know. We invoke Larry Kramer, who I invoke quite often because it's a running joke amongst my friends that I have a little Larry Kramer who lives within me. Larry Kramer was the founder of ACT UP. He was a founder of the Gay Men's Health Crisis, a AIDS activist, a person who fought for our community and who argued that we think of ourselves as a people. And I do my best to do that we are a people who share a common history and culture born out of persecution. And that's why he's on the list. When we were making our list, there was one name that when it came up, I felt had to be put on the list just because her humor meant a lot to me as a kid. She got on the list of comedians I was allowed to listen to albums of, which tells me that my dad probably knew what she was talking about, but my mom didn't. And that's Moms Mabley. Moms was an openly gay comedian. She came out, I believe, in the 1920s and still managed to have a certain amount of mainstream success. If you know her name today, you probably know her because Wanda Sykes played her in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. She was a powerful voice for liberation and also a very, very funny person. And I wanted a comedian on the list. Now, this list is not exhaustive. And as you'll see with the ritual itself, there is a method proposed to add other names to the list, whether they be heroes, people that you knew in your own life, people maybe still working in the community today. I was just trying to get the ball rolling with names that I felt could not be missed. We actually decided to shorten the list because we could go on. Harvey Milk is not on this list. Looking at the time, I could spend the next hour naming names that should be on this list. I had drafts of this that had Harvey on it, many others. Tried to stop myself from going down the long litany of those who came before us, because it's important for us to know our history and to remember all that it took to get us here, but also to see the resilience and the strength it took to fight for the cause of liberation. Whether or not you consider yourself part of the LGBTQIA community or not, Pride is a time for all of us to remember that the most important thing we can do for ourselves and others is to enter our relationships in an honest, open way, and to remember for those close to us and those we intend to be close with, to enter those relationships in a form of mutual vulnerability where we let people actually see us and we actually see them for who they are. This is a powerful time. Do you have to be LGBTQIA plus to perform this ritual? No, you do not. Standing as an accomplice, as an ally with us in this fight is powerful. It is helpful. It is meaningful. Doing this as a group is a powerful thing. There are instructions in the post over at CreationsPaths for doing it as a ritual, both online and in person, as well as solo. There's also a meditation on there about the fight and the actual struggle for freedom that we are continuing to grapple with to this day. I invite you to get out there and stand up for your rights and for the rights of your brothers, sisters, and siblings, because we are all under attack right now. And it's only through solidarity with everyone. We need to be out there for all of the fights, for the immigrants, and all the other causes as well. We need to be locked arm in arm and never let them divide us. The whole reason there is a fight right now over trans rights is to try to break women away from queer people. This has always been the means of control. The original civil rights movement that started back in the 1800s was originally an alliance between Black abolitionists and white feminists. Certain people who are revered as feminist icons, such as Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton and others, drove a wedge to break that solidarity because they felt it was too dangerous for them to be allied with Black people, that it would hurt their cause. And it caused a rift that is still reverberating to this day, causing both the African-American community and the entire female population of the United States trouble. And we have to heal these rifts and always stand in solidarity with everyone who's seeking the cause of freedom, everyone who is seeking their own liberation, because the way they win is they divide us. And they're trying to do it right now by trying to divide trans people out of the queer movement and trying to divide queer people away from feminists.
And for those that are going, it's an old tactic. It worked. They set both movements back several hundred years. And they did it in the 70s in the gay queer movement.
Divided the lesbians and the gay men. I remember when we were doing queer organizing in the early 2000s, almost coming to blows, like people almost literally punching each other arguments over whether the acronym starts with a G or an L. How dare you put lesbians before the gay men? How dare you put gay men before the lesbians? Divisions hurt the cause. I don't care what order the alphabet comes in. We all have to stand together. Right now, the tactic is to divide us up into all of our groups so that we're not fighting for the immigrants. We're not fighting for the women. We're too worried about keeping ours. The only way we're going to win is if we all lock arms together and support one another, because they're coming after labor rights already. If you are somebody who works a job in this country for wages, they're coming for you next.
Going for the unions isn't just going for union workers. It's going for labor rights of all workers.
They've already made child labor legal again in, I think, 3 states.
Knowing our history, it was the unions that fought for the right for everybody to have an 8-hour workday. These concepts didn't exist before the unions. So every worker benefits from that and being paid extra if you're made to work more than 8 hours.
It's always going back to that poem. First, they came for the anarchists, and I was not an anarchist, so I said no. Then they came for the socialists, and I was not a socialist, so I said nothing. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I was not a trade unionist, so I said nothing. Then they came for me, and there was no one there to speak for me. This is why we speak out for everyone who is oppressed. We have to hold arms together. The divisions hurt all of us.
They divide and they conquer. And this is why they keep winning.
So let us know your thoughts in the comments if you're listening. I would love to know what you think about this. I'm hoping that if you are not a part of the LGBT plus community, these Pride episodes still mean something to you and that you're not just skipping them. I can see the analytics and I can see a lot of people are, which is fine. We're going to keep doing them, but these are meant for everyone. If you're listening to us on YouTube, Spotify, or CreationsPaths.com, you can leave a comment right there. If you're listening to us anywhere else, even if they say you can leave a comment, they don't notify us, so we won't know. But you can leave a comment there anyway, because engagement is magic. And then head over to CreationsPaths.com, click on chat, and you can leave a message there, and we will see it, and we will be able to get back to you. While you're there, if you happen to have a few dollars, you can pass our way. We offer monthly and annual memberships. You can also support us on Patreon and Ko-fi. I am CE Dorset on both, and you can support us using the Cash App hashtag CreationsPaths. Thank you to everybody who does that. We are ever so grateful. Thank you so much. You all really do help us keep the lights on, keep a roof over our head, and food on our table. If we've ever said anything that's helped you out, please share it with others. That helps us out more than you know. And as we're heading out today,
let us read from the list of names of our queer ancestors, personal icons, beloveds, living or departed, whose courage, love, and advocacy sustains us. May the courage of Marsha P. Johnson be with us always, and the fire of Sylvia Rivera fill our words. May we have the focus of Larry Kramer on our cause, and the brilliance of James Baldwin in advocacy. May we organize with the power of Bayard Rustin and the mother of pride, Brenda Howard. May we sing the songs of freedom with Gladys Bentley, and speak with the transgressive humor of Moms Mabley. Spirit of liberation, be with us as we rise together. Grant us courage to face the night, compassion to lift each other, and hope to carry us toward the dawn. May we remember the struggles and victories of those who came before. May we stand in unity, leaving no one behind. Let the light of justice and love guide our steps until freedom and peace blossom for all.